All right, now that we are officially up and running on YouTube Live. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if I've missed. Okay, how about, let's just get started. And then as we're doing roll call, if I've missed anybody, then we'll just let you shout out. All right. So before we call the meeting to order, I'm just gonna read this quick blurb that we always read before our AC meetings, just to note why we're meeting in this venue. So because of the coronavirus emergency and state and federal guidance on large meetings or gatherings, and pursuant to the mayor's proclamations regarding COVID-19, Community Development Plan Action Committee meetings are being held online until further notice. Members of the public may watch the CDP AC meetings live on YouTube. And we've provided that link both on our websites and in the agendas. So as a gentle reminder about virtual aloha etiquette, it's easier to understand, especially on the YouTube side, if one person is speaking at a time. So we ask that you keep your device muted unless you're speaking. And if we notice that your mic is accidentally turned on, then we may mute you for a little bit, but please don't take that personally. We're just trying to make sure that the person who's speaking can be heard. Because there are so many of us in this meeting, it'll be helpful. So we're flipping back and forth between screens. So it'll be really helpful if you raise your hand virtually or use the chat to be recognized before speaking. And then if you can remember to identify yourself before speaking, just in thinking that people will be watching this back later and our names don't always show up on the YouTube live stream. So if you can state your name before speaking. Okay. So I'm gonna chair this meeting today since we're all together, but we've tossed about the idea of having our different action committee chairs rotate through. And so that's something that we can talk about later. So we will officially call this meeting to order at 5:06. And so we'll start with our roll call. And so I just real quickly want to introduce the planning staff that is on the call tonight. And so we have April Supernaut with us, Alexis Ching, and Rob Leisure. And then we also have Planning Director Kern, who will speak in a short bit. And also joining us today from Corporation Counsel is Deputy Corporation Counsel Jean Campbell. Thanks for joining us, Jean.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to the meeting, and thank you, Keiko. I just want to give everyone a quick reminder, because we have such a big group, we are reminded that we are all subject to the Sunshine Law, so we want to do a good job to stick to our agenda. And to the extent that you wear a particular hat that makes you subject to the Sunshine Law for another reason, please be aware of that as well. And look forward to hearing all these really exciting reports for everyone. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. And so I also see joining us on Zoom today, we see Councilmember Holeka Inaba, awesome. Councilwoman Sue Liloy and Rebecca Villegas.
Aloha.
Aloha. Am I missing anybody? I don't think so. Okay. And then I know that we have additional council members who are watching via YouTube, so that per Jean's comment, we are in line with Sunshine. And so then let's see. I'm trying to think about the best way to do this. I'm gonna read out who I see, and if I've missed you, then please go ahead and unmute yourself and speak up. But for the purpose of roll, for Kona, I see Kari Kimura. I see Janice Palmagleni. Am I missing anyone? No, okay. From South Kohala, I see Ruth Smith. I see Mark Gordon and Karen Anderson. Did I miss anybody? No, okay. From Hamakua, we have Jeff McKnight, Nicolette Hubbard, Rhonda Pollard, Crystal Kua, Robert Nishimoto, and Tan Keeney. Is that good? And then from Puna, we have Leila Kealoha, Susie Osborne, and Franny Brewer. So mahalo to all of you for being here. And so quickly, we'll do just a quick announcement. We have Director Kern with us today, and so he just wanted to greet you folks and welcome you into the space.
Thanks, Keiko. Hi, everybody. Great to see everybody here. Thanks to the planning department team for working on this, putting together. Thank you all for your hard work in our community and on the action committees. It's very important, community involvement, whether we all agree at the same thing or not. It's just great to be a part of it and to come together and have collaboration and talk story. So happy to be here, mainly just to watch and observe and listen and learn. I do have just a couple quick announcements I'd like to share. Most of you probably heard that the County of Hawaii Planning Department and Building Division have launched the EPIC system for electronic processing and information center for permits and land use applications, etc. So we're going through some changes, a few slowdowns here and there. So as you folks in the community, we just want you to know that and ask for your patience. And if you know folks that are experiencing maybe some delays and whatnot, just appreciate the understanding around that. The neat thing is, though, we are going paperless. You'll be able to apply for applications online, and you can actually search information online as well. So even if you're not an application submitter, there's information on there that folks might be interested in. And further, since we're all into planning of sorts, the County of Hawaii Planning Department has recently launched its GIS portal on our website. So if you're interested in land use and zoning and various parcels, the information is on our website and you can access that now. If you go to our website and click on the resources, one more click on resources again, and you'll get to our GIS portal. It's also up in the banner area. So it's pretty cool if you're wondering what the zoning is next to me or what's that property zone and what the land use is or the permits on there. So you have more access at your fingertips. Before that would come as a disc. So just trying to make it more accessible, more transparent, and easier to use for the entire community on the Big Island. Again, just really appreciate all the hard work that you're doing from the planning department. We're doing everything we can to work with you folks, support you guys, and again, I'm trying to learn and see all the adjustments that we can make and how we can support everybody moving forward. Don't really need to take up any more time, but just really here just to show my appreciation and be a part of this. So again, thank you all so much and have a great meeting. Aloha.
Awesome, mahalo. Quick question. We see one person calling in on a phone. We just want to clarify whether you are calling in on your own or if you're connected to a video that is already showing. I just see you identified as a phone number. If nothing, then we'll move on. Okay. So public comment on agenda items, written testimony was accepted via email or in person up to 2 days prior to the meeting. And then members of the public were also encouraged to register to provide oral testimony on agenda items. So we did not have any written testimony submitted, but we do have 3 people registered to testify on agenda item 2 tonight. And so I would ask each of you, our testifiers are Sarah Pule Kekoa Kealoha and Xavier Ramos Moniz. I would ask whether you folks were interested in testifying now or if you wanted to hold on and testify just before the agenda item comes up.
Aloha, Keiko. We will wait until the agenda item comes up. Mahalo.
Awesome, mahalo. Okay, so then we're gonna jump right into it. So agenda item 1, business item 1, emergency rental assistance program. In April of 2021, the county launched the federally funded emergency rent assistance program, ERAP. And the program is led by Hawaii Community Lending and administered locally by 6 nonprofit partners. Hope Services Hawaii, Hawaii First Federal Credit Union, Neighborhood Place of Puna, Habitat for Humanity Hawaii Island, the Salvation Army, and Hawaii County Economic Opportunity Council. ERAP provides rent or utility payments from March of 2020 through December of 2021 to households who have been impacted directly or indirectly by the coronavirus pandemic. The program has provided $3 million in financial assistance to over 500 households and have funding to support additional households on Hawaii Island. And so we're really excited and happy to have Jeff Gilbreth, Executive Director of Hawaii Community Lending, here with us today to share information about the program and how our action committees might be helpful in playing a role in sharing this information out with the larger community. And I just want to acknowledge also that Sharon Hirota from the Office of Housing is here as support, but I'll let you folks introduce yourselves and we'll turn it over to you.
So I'll start. So aloha, Sharon Hirota, as Keiko said, I work for the Office of Housing and Community Development. And I reached out to Keiko when she informed me of this meeting to be part of the agenda, especially since we had the entire island represented here. And as community leaders, I wanted to share information about the program in hopes that you will help us take the word back into your communities or connect with us as to how we can continue to share the information. So as Keiko just mentioned, the county received federal funding directly from the U.S. Treasury to provide rental and utility assistance and the ability to backdate them to March of 2020 moving forward. When we provided information, we said 3 million over 500. As of last week, Saturday, according to our monthly reports, we are at close to 3.9 million, just like $1,000 short of 3.9 million in financial assistance to over 624 households unduplicated here on Hawaii Island. So this represents about 40% of our spend down. We have so 60% more funding, so close to $6 million in funds available to help our Hawaii Island residents. Funding does come from the U.S. Treasury. Initially, when they launched the program, they had expected the counties or the recipients or the grantees to spend down money by September 30th of this year. And through different updates, they've now extended the contract or allowance to us to extend the contracts out to June of 2022. So we have more time to spend. They've also given additional guidelines as to how we can use the funding in addition to rent and utility payments. And so we're here this evening. Jeff Gilbert, Executive Director from Hawaii Community Lending, is our contract administrator, and I'll let him share more information about the program and what they're doing. But it's truly a private and government partnership here, and that's why I'm here, because we really want to make sure that those families who are directly and or indirectly impacted by the pandemic receive the help that they need, let them get caught up on their rent payments, let them get caught up on their utility payments. That's what it's here for. And a lot of times what we hear is, I'm not going to apply because it's too complicated, or I'm not going to apply because more families worse off than I am. Well, there's lots of money here. Let's put it in the hands of the people who need it. So appreciate if you have questions or anything, Jeff or I are available to answer them. But I'm gonna just turn it over to Jeff to start sharing. So thank you.
Mahalo, Sharon. And aloha, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I am Jeff Gilbreth. I'm Executive Director of Hawaii Community Lending. And I think I think the presentation to you folks tonight, it makes a whole lot of sense for a lot of reasons, but recognize you folks as deeply committed to community and strengthening community through the practices that you are respecting and the planning you are overseeing and informing. And so we just appreciate the time today, and Sharon is correct. This is a public-private partnership, and unlike any other really in the state of Hawaii right now. What you're seeing here is really the front page of our website, and I'll drop in the chat box, or Sharon will drop in the chat box for us the link. But when you come to this site, you'll notice one thing really is that we're offering assistance, yes, in English, but in 8 other languages with our partners who are mentioned in the lead up to this, that we're trying to serve folks who are underserved, those who are hard to reach, limited English proficiency, and this is one of the ways we do that, is having in-language staff and assistance. The goal for the program, as Sharon had mentioned, is to get $10.4 million out in grants for rent and utility assistance for folks who are directly or indirectly impacted. That's renters on Hawaii Island by COVID. The partnership is what was shared. This is unique and unlike any other in the state of Hawaii, where you don't have just one nonprofit working this program, you have 7. That means that we're helping do all the management of finance, compliance, training, and our 6 nonprofit partners are processing all the applications and paying out. That means you don't have one back office cutting checks and wiring funds from Honolulu. You have checks and funds wired right there on island. Right now it's taking folks, if they have a complete application, roughly 5 business days to go to approval and then get to pay out. Some things that are changing with the program, recent changes I've underlined. Yes, we're providing assistance for rent and utility payments, but also rental deposits. With the eviction moratorium up, I'll tell you, I know that the governor made a statement, and I know there's been statements from the federal government related to the eviction moratorium, but we're telling people don't wait. And that is very obvious for us. There's a lot of families right now who are getting displaced because homeowners are coming back to live in their home, or they're selling the property and they have nowhere to go. And I'll tell you a little bit more a little later on what we're doing creatively to address that. We can provide assistance March 2020 through December 2021, maximum 15 months of assistance in that. If you're impacted directly or indirectly, you qualify as a renter. As Sharon said, that's everybody on this call has been indirectly impacted by COVID. There is an income requirement. It is 80% area median income, so low-income families are the ones who can qualify for this assistance. We're asking folks just to apply to one nonprofit partner that we have. Don't apply to all 6, thinking you're going to get through faster. If you do, you're going to be turned down by 5. You'll go to the one that got your application first. These payments have to go only to County of Hawaii primary residents. Beyond that, there are some exciting things that we're looking at. The county, through the mayor's office, has expanded the program. We're now looking at housing stability services to be added into this program, and I'll talk more about that. It's not just about getting money out to folks, but it's getting them to services that'll keep them housed and keep them whole. And as Sharon said, we're really excited. The program doesn't end here in 2021. We carry it forward to June 30, 2022. But that doesn't mean that folks should wait to apply. The time is now, right? We have the funds, and we should get folks going. Some proposed program changes that we're working with the county on. This is pretty powerful stuff, folks. So yes, past due rent and utilities, we can do 3 months of rent in advance. This is to get ahead of the folks that might be having that eviction notice just waiting for their landlord on the day that they get told you can file the eviction case, right? We can do the rental deposits, but I'm going to turn your attention to this last piece, temporary hotel and motel stays. We just housed a mother with 6 children who makes good income, but was living in her car. Nobody would take her in for a rental on the Kona side. And we got her into We got her into a hotel with these funds, and we can provide these funds right now through December 31 as a temporary stay. The former Hilo Seaside is one partner that's also working with us. The Kona Islander, another. There's really very few places for folks to go right now, as I know you know. That family that got in, that mother with 6 kids, we did get her into a rental, and you know what? She can pay monthly. She can pay $2,400 a month. So this is the situation we're in. The underpinning of this local economy, as I think you folks know, is the housing market. And if we can get these dollars out, it's just going to strengthen us further on down the road as we move further on to recovery. As I said, if you're under 80% area median income, you can qualify whether you have an unemployment letter, or if you don't, you haven't been unemployed, we can take a written hardship, an attestation that the nonprofit partner can provide. So don't disqualify yourself. Come through the process, work with our teams. These are folks that are committed to community. They're likely your neighbors. They're good folks, and they're willing to work with you. We will also be with these funds, as I shared with you, under partnership with the county and the mayor's office. We're going to be launching a call center. And this center will help assist Hawaii Island residents figure out the Where's Waldo of financial assistance and COVID assistance at this time. You can't imagine how many families we have that we call back because they're missing a document. And they ask, what program is this? I've applied to so many, I can't even keep them straight anymore. This call center will be helping folks get connected to the programs that they're eligible for and in quicker time. We're going to provide additional housing navigators who will be hired and trained on island. These folks will help the families who are currently struggling to find homes get into homes that are affordable. Some additional things, as I said, we're going to provide additional rental deposits, funding for application fees, legal fees for those low-income renters in our communities. And that'll be through the Housing Navigator program. So you get both the support and the dollars, right? We know that budgeting is a big part of this. Families are stepping into emergency situations. So financial counseling and affordable loans will be made available through the county's financial empowerment centers. And these are recent centers that just got stood up. We're going to be getting more legal aid staff on board. We know we need more attorneys doing the good work. So they're going to come on, and we're going to be filling any gaps the landlord-tenant mediation programs have as a potential. As I said, a big push of ours, and if you folks know of any vacation rentals, hotels, motels that are willing to partner with us, we're looking for temporary housing options for families to go to. And as I said, we're starting to see this really pick up, the number of families who are moving in. So, reach out. We're also looking to have community navigators who will go door to door. Students who are at the university and go back to their community, and Kea'au and knock on doors and say, hey, did you know about this program, Auntie? And they're going to have that connection already and that trust to make sure that they know about the broadband benefit that's out there, this emergency rental assistance program and other assistance that's out there. Sharon dropped the link in the chat. It is a Google site, so you can also get to it by Hawaii County, erap.org. And you can find more information. The 3 main things you'll see there is you can click on, one is the document checklist. And this is the checklist right here of the documents that folks need to provide. You can see there are income requirements based on the number of persons in the household. And so, if you're not too sure where your income's at right now because you got it reduced, things happened, again, don't disqualify yourself. We have the professionals there calculating income and seeing what we can get you. Even if we turn you away, we're going to get you to some other type of assistance that can help at this time. So apply. The second thing you can click on is where to apply. And these are our 6 powerful nonprofit partners on the ground. Folks can walk in person to get an application. They can complete it online. They can call on the phone and complete it. So there's many different opportunities for folks to be able to get into the game. And I have to mahalo these folks. These folks have been in the trenches and running, sprinting since March 2020. We owe a lot of mahalo, a lot of malama to these folks. They are awesome folks. I get to engage with them every week, talk about where we're at, where we're going, and you can feel the energy that's there, and they're here for community, no doubt. There's also frequently asked questions on that website. So, please take a look at it. It can answer anything you may have. Last thing I just want to tie up real fast is to show you folks, this is some of the data points that Sharon had alluded to. 3.9 million out the door, Sharon, 625 approved households. The majority of folks are returning ways because they don't have all the documents in place and they haven't gotten them to us. We're telling folks, continue to engage with us, continue to pick up the phone. You may not get everything the first time, but we're there with you. Far fewer folks than we thought are over income, and the rest are duplicate application. Again, that's them applying to multiple different programs. This gives you a snapshot of the folks who are applying. And I think for your purposes, just to be looking at the number of folks unemployed that are applying, this tells you where the community's at. 57% of folks coming in are unemployed currently, close to 20% reduced work hours. And we have shown and continue to show equity in this program. As you see, women, female head of households have been impacted disproportionately by COVID economically. That's true in our applications received. That's true in our applications approved. Same as we look at Native Hawaiians, Caucasian community, Pacific Islander community, disproportionately impacted in Hawaii. And we see that also translated into our approvals, which you see here. But to give you a snapshot, folks who are coming through, they're making less than $27,000 a household right now. There's a lot of need here. About $3,500 is our payment out in the grant. But I want to point your attention that 1,945 children and adults in our communities are still housed because of this program. We've got so many more we can serve. And I think with your folks' help, getting the word out, telling your coworkers, your friends, your family, your neighbors, I think we can do more. So with that, I'll just mahalo you folks and, welcome if anybody has anything they want to get to me, any connections, more than happy to speak with you. And there's my contact info. Mahalo.
Mahalo. We so appreciate you folks being here. And just as a note, we will be sharing this PowerPoint presentation with all of you after the meeting. So then you'll have Jeff's contact information easily accessible. We'd have a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions for either Jeff or Sharon? All good. Everybody's ready to pump the information out. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you guys so much again.
Thank you.
Awesome. Mahalo. All right. So we have, I'm just going to note real quick before we move into testimony that we have Franz Weber has joined us, and also Brad Kurokawa. All right, let me flip back to my testimony. Okay, so we have 3 people who signed up to testify tonight, and so each of you will have 3 minutes to testify. And so we don't have a way to time that on the screen for everyone to see, and so I'm going to apologize ahead of time because it feels very rude for me to have to turn my mic on and interrupt you, especially if you're in the middle of a thought. And so I'll try to do it thoughtfully, but it's very difficult for me. So I'm just going to put that out there, and I'll just very quickly say you have, your time is up, and so if you could please wrap it up. And so we'll see on my list first. I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to go in a different order, but in my list first, we have Sarah Pule representing Protect Pololu Ohana and testifying on agenda item 2. Okay. You can go ahead and unmute. Awesome.
Aloha.
Aloha.
My name is Sarah Puli Fujii. I want to mahalo all of you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of our community to protect Pololu. I have lived here in a village called Niuli'i, that's a mile away from Pololu, all my life. Pololu is a special place to me and the people of Kohala. Pololu is beautiful because it is untouched. I want the next generation to see Pololu the way I have all my 65 years. We need to preserve and protect this special, beautiful, pristine, sacred aina. Please, for the sake of our keikis, our kupunas, and our people, Please consider Pololu as a land that needs to be preserved and no development. I love Pololu. Just to sit there at the lookout and watch the sunrise, the sun shining into each valley along the coast to Pololu. When it gets to Pololu with the morning mist hanging on the rim of the valley, it's so beautiful and breathtaking. It's something you all must come out here to see. Watching the waves on the shoreline and the breeze blowing through the branches and trees up on the cliffs. On full moon nights, it's the same, so beautiful. You can't do this anywhere else. Any kind of development will destroy our sacred Vahipana. I remember the rice patches and stories of our kupuna carrying the hala up the trail on their backs, looking only at their feet, all the way up to the lookout. So much stories that we have passed down to our keikis, stories of our kupuna who lived in the valley and that are buried there. I want our kids, our keikis, to be able to see the Aina the way I did all my life. Please consider preserving Pololu. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Next testifier we have is Kikoa Kealoha, representing Protect Pololu Ohana and testifying again on agenda item number 2.
I think he wanted me to go first before him.
Okay, awesome. So we
So
have, is it Xavier?
yeah,
Okay.
my name is Xavier Moniz, and I'm a 12th grade student at Kohala High School. And I am concerned about the preservation of Pololu and how our community might be able to be gifted PONC funds. I am also concerned with how our community will benefit if 2 big lots along the Pololu Ridge were sold to developers. Pololu is important to me because it holds a lot of good times, good memories, and history to Kohala and our community. And yeah, so thank you for your time and consideration, and please help us preserve Pololu because it means a lot to me, my community, my classmates, all the younger generations who go to our school. We go to Pololu. We enjoy down there. Some of us gather food. It's a beautiful place, we would hate to see it go. Thank you.
Awesome, mahalo. I just want to say an extra mahalo because we always appreciate when we have youth who come and testify. I'm pretty sure everybody on this call would agree with that, so mahalo. Yeah. Okay, Kikoa.
Aloha, everybody. My name is Kikoa Kealoha. And I would like to thank you for this opportunity to testify regarding how the Public Access, Open Space, and Natural Resources Preservation Commission can serve the North Kohala community. And I also want to mahalo the other 2 people who provided testimony, Auntie Sarah Pule and Xavier. My full first name is Kekoa Pololu. I grew up in New Li'i, Kohala, across the street from Auntie Sarah Pule. And the street that separates our properties is named after her grandfather, Akoni Pule. Akoni Pule Highway runs from Kauai High to Pololu Valley, and my mo'oku auhau, my genealogy comes from Pololu and the surrounding areas. My uncle Henry, who actually gave me my name, he lived in Pololu Valley, but moved out after the 1946 tsunami destroyed much of the valley floor. But since then, my ohana and other ohana from this area have stayed near to Pololu in both distance and heart. This valley, like the broader North Kohala community, my ohana has a close personal connection to Kamehameha and the broader historical significance of Pololu Valley. This place is special to me. It's special to my ohana and to the ohana around me, to Kohala, and even to all of Hawaii. When I think about Pololu Valley, I am overwhelmed by its unique beauty and mana. And I am immediately reminded of our kuleana to protect that beauty and defend its mana. And that is why my ohana and other ohana of the surrounding area are determined to preserve Pololu. Preserving Pololu means protecting our heritage and aina so that all future generations can feel that mana and experience its beauty. The threat of residential development above Pololu ultimately ends with poorer access to natural resources, skyrocketing property values, and displacement of the people with ancestral ties to this place. Residential development would alter the landscape and diminish the powerful experience one has in and around the valley. Publicly enjoyed land and natural resources in Hawaii transform into gated communities and pricey neighborhoods. And these neighborhoods don't necessarily reflect the broader community surrounding it. We would like to request the use of PONC funds to purchase land with the direct intention to preserve Pololu from any further development. We know that our special places deserve our protection, and Pololu certainly fits that bill. I can't adequately describe to you in words the pain that our Ohanas feel knowing that Pololu could potentially change forever with development. And that pain would be shared by families across Hawaii and across this island if they knew what could potentially happen. Please consider using PONC funds to protect our Vahipana, our Kulaiwi. We need support from this committee to preserve our natural resources for all of Hawaii Island. Please help us to protect Pololu Valley. Mahalo for letting me share.
Awesome. Mahalo. Mahalo. So then we'll move into agenda item number 2, which is directly related to our testimony tonight. So County of Hawaii Public Access, Open Space and Natural Resource Preservation Commission, or better known as PUNC. Tonight we have with us Property Management Technician and Commission Secretary, Maxine Cutler. And so she's gonna provide Action Committee members with a brief presentation about the commission and the process through which lands are acquired for preservation. So Maxine, mahalo for making time to be here with us tonight.
Thank you, Keiko, and the members of the Community Development Program. Thank you for inviting me to your meeting tonight. I am so excited to hear that we have some testifiers present and explaining the need for such special places to be preserved. I hope I do you justice when I go through this presentation to show you how the process or the PUMP program works. After the presentation, I will be glad to entertain some questions, so long as Keiko allows me. So thank you, Keiko. I will now share my screen with the presentation. Okay, so this screen that we have here, it's the public access open space and natural resources preservation program. Part of this program is made out of 9 district representatives from the community that makes up a commission. So actually it's the program and the commission takes a big part of this program. In the background you see, if those from North Kohala, this is Kapanaya or Hapu'u Kapanaya Cultural Corridor. It's been a significant place in Hawaiian history because it is the stomping ground for Kamehameha's youth and as he turned into the king, also where his mother was murdered. On this coastal corridor, we have 2 heiaus, Kapalama and Hale'oke'ili. The PUNC program was initiated in 2006. With that, we have 5 categories that we look at to make it, to use the preservation fund. The preservation fund consists of the 2% of the real property tax revenues that are collected annually. It is used to acquire the lands, both in easements or conservation easements or just be simple. These are the 5 categories that we rank our properties. Public outdoor recreation, education, including access to beaches and mountains, historic or culturally important areas and sites. We've heard of some of that from lineal descendants tonight. Protection of natural resources and including buffer zones. Examples of natural resources could be watersheds, could be forests, it could be endangered plants flora and fauna, or even to help our endangered species. Preservation of our forests, beaches, coastal areas, natural beauty, and agricultural lands. Kapanaya consists of all of these categories, and protection of watershed lands to preserve water quality and water supply. Some of you know, living up Malta, especially in Hawaii, our ahus have many underwater systems, and the water comes down from the mountains and it feeds the lower half of the island. Kapanaya is very unique. It has two water gouges that meets right in the middle. And this is why this part of the island is so fertile with the king. He grew taro patches, bananas. He had all kinds of stuff growing up down there as he was growing up. Okay, the process. This is the big thing with the community and our council people and our commission. This is the process that we follow. It's according to our charter and our code. And we're going to start up here by 12 o'clock. And 12 o'clock says the suggestion forms need to be submitted by either nonprofit or community people out there in the community. So Sarah and Kekoa and Xavier, I believe, you were talking about special places. You want to go to our website and get this year's suggestion form. And I'm going to update the screen. It is now due the last day in January 2022. When we receive the commission receives your nomination or suggestion form, they're going to review it and assess by a certain criteria. The criteria is available to the public on our public website. The commission then determines the properties to be included in what we call a prioritized list and ranks them accordingly. For this year, the commission just completed ranking the 27 nominations that we received. They will be available to the public once, or you can call me and I can release that list to you, or send me an email and requesting the list. Well, this list isn't quite official until we include it in the annual report to the mayor, which is set by charter by December 31st. When the mayor gets it, he will review it and make his recommendations to county council. Once county council meets it in their committee and county council, and they pass that recommendation, the next thing they do, like Councilwoman Rebecca Villargues, they make resolutions. And those resolutions is to prepare and approve and authorizing the finance director to proceed with negotiations for these special places. So then I take off the commission hat, I put on the property management hat, and then I assist in those projects. If the project is successful, then we begin to use the availability funding to acquire these places. This is the process. So if you look at this, it's a really nice user-friendly process, but in between the resolution and the negotiation, we may discover things that makes the property non-acquirable. It could be something simple like the property owner is not a willing seller. We find too many things connected with the property that it makes them harder to get. And it will take a little bit time to do that. In our next screen, I'm going to show you some properties that have been successfully acquired under the PUNC fund or the PUNC program. This is a third acquisition by Punt, purchased in 2010 for a little over 6.5 million. It has numerous historical and cultural sites. It was open space protection, and it's now maintained by, Kohala Kahilikai and Tony Wennington's groups. And look at all the acreage on that one. Here's another one. Here's one of the heiaus in that Hapu'u Kapanaya Cultural Corridor. This is Haleoki'ili. We successfully closed on that one in 2018 for $2.6 million. This is in walking distance to Kapalama Heiau. And I've got to apologize for my alelo. It's not often that I do a presentation in the evening, but I will get used to it if Keiko keeps inviting me. So the beach here at Kapanaya Bay is so pristine. I've been there like 3-4 times already. And each time I just feel the aura of the property. The Fisherman's Trail leads down to the coastal and the tide pools. But this is the heiau that was built in memory of King Kamehameha's mother being murdered. And here is what the cultural corridor looks like. We have parcel 4, 27, 26, 23, and 22 is where Haleoki'ili is. 27 and 26 consist of Kapalama Heiau, and of course the Bay Area. It's a big project to take upon to try to buy the entire thing. So we have to do it piece by piece. Here's another one in Councilman Inaba's area. This is White Sands Makua. So it was purchased with preservation funds, and this property is maintained by the descendants or lineal descendants of the original owners. It's significant and high concentration of cultural and historical sites. Now in the picture, you see this rock. This is a heiau right here, and they're maintaining it. I think some people now look at it, there's a little parking going on the sides. That's an agreement because the beaches are kind of overflowed with parking, so long as they don't park in these areas and before the fence line. And so what happens after we buy this property? Well, fortunately for you, the community passed another law in 2014, I believe. And this is called the maintenance fund, or the maintenance. It's 0.25% of your property taxes that go into this fund. The fund is capped at $3 million. Now, how does the community get this money? What they do is they apply for it via a stewardship grant application. We are now presently accepting those applications, which the deadline is coming up at the end of August. I believe if you go to R&D's website, you will see a posting on that, and also on the property management website. Since the charter changed in November of 2020, the Department of Finance now oversees this fund. So this year, the finance will be accepting your applications. So the Department of Finance does both programs, the Preservation Fund and the Maintenance Fund. And all our charters, codes, and acquisition reports, plus our financial reports, you can find them on the hawaiicounty.gov website. You click on to property management or finance, and you can easily navigate to my folders. If you have any question, I'm the gal to see, call or email. And I would be glad to answer any questions at this time.
And again, just to note, thank you, Maxine. You always do such a wonderful job of walking us through the process. Just a note, we'll be sending out also this PowerPoint to everybody, so you'll have the information, the process to follow, and contact information. And we're more than happy to make connections with Maxine as well.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a hand up by Leila.
Sure, Leila. Come, I don't see that.
Hi,
I
aloha.
did. Yeah.
I'm Leila Kialoha. I just have a question. When you submit a PONC application for a parcel of land and it's a county or state parcel, you can do that. So you can purchase county and state parcels.
The
does that work?
the county does not use its money to buy its own property
That's what I was wondering.
or state property. There's some protections with state property, especially if it's coastal and it's I forgot the term, Jean. What is that? Shoreline access, Jean.
Probably either conservation or things that are subject to special management areas.
Yep. And so the app, what you can do is for some of those properties that I've heard from Keikoa and Sarah, is that you can contact me at the office. And because this is August now, I can basically help you through the application process so you can meet the January deadline. So get in touch with me. Did I answer your question, Leila? Okay. Thank you. Okay, any other question? Alrighty, I don't see any. Okay, well, thank you everybody for having me. And of course, you can email if you have more questions later. Thank you, Keiko.
Thank you so much, Maxine. And again, we're more than happy to connect you folks too. I know that this is something that all of our ACs are interested in. It's something that all of our CDPs speak to. And so if we can help facilitate this process, we're more than happy and excited about doing it. And I forgot to mention during the last break, I was so excited about having youth. Watch out, Xavier, we're gonna come for you and get you to be an action committee member. That I forgot to mention. I wanted to mention that we have Marissa Bankston and Shane Pollicott Nelson who have also joined us in our Zoom. So mahalo, welcome.
And
Okay.
Keiko, this is Rob. We also have
Yeah.
Tristy from South Kohala who just joined.
Hi, Tristy. Mahalo. Okay, so moving right along, business item number 3, County of Hawaii Climate Action Plan. So from the Department of Research and Development, we have Sustainable Development Specialist, Michelle Abige, and Community Resilience Solutions Coordinator, Kendra Obermeyer. And so they're gonna share with us a brief overview of the Climate Action Plan. Thank you guys for being here.
Hello, my name is Michelle Agbigan. I'm the Sustainable Development Specialist. I also work closely with Kendra, who's the Community Resilient Solutions Coordinator. She wasn't able to make it today, so I'll be doing this presentation. So we're both from R&D, and we're working closely with the Planning Department also on this Climate Action Plan for Hawaii County. So I'm not sure if you know, but some of the question is, what is even the purpose of the Climate Action Plan? And so from here on out, I'll be abbreviating that as the CAP for the rest of this presentation. So in a world that's getting warmer, where natural disasters such as hurricanes and droughts are becoming more frequent, and where industries like agriculture and fishing are affected by these changing conditions, a climate action plan is a way to identify how to address climate change causes and impacts in a certain area. So specifically, the purpose is to create a framework for identifying and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, since emissions is what cause climate change. So there are 4 standard outcomes of a climate action plan. The first is to summarize the current science and data around greenhouse gas emissions in a certain area. And this includes things like how much your car or air travel emits. The second is to determine target emissions reduction, such as reducing air travel emissions by 50% by 2030. The third is to determine how to achieve the target emissions reduction. For example, how can we reduce our vehicle miles traveled, and can we make fuel more sustainable? And then the fourth is to achieve targets, evaluate actions, and revise the plan. This action piece is the most important part of the plan, and so I'm going to kind of walk you through the process that we're taking for this plan specifically. So we started by understanding the components. So there's values, which is identifying the shared priorities of Hawaii Island communities, which may or may not be directly related to climate change. Then there's targets. These are greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets that are science-based. And science-based means a measurable, actionable, and time-bound objective based on the best available science that allow us to align with our island limits and community sustainability goals. The next one is action. So what we do to reach our target. Then implementation strategies, how we put those actions into effect. And then of course, monitoring, right? Identifying measurements and timelines that we are accountable to. We also need a team. And so here's how we have this set up. R&D completed the greenhouse gas emissions inventory for 2015, and we're currently working on a 2017 update. R&D is also focused on strategies that will help us stop what is causing climate change, which is mitigation. Planning is focused on the risk and vulnerability assessment, as well as strategies that will help us survive and minimize the effects of climate change, which is called adaptation. And both of our departments are receiving technical support and guidance from the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, also known as ICLEI, through an integrated climate action planning cohort. We also began putting together a working group that will advise, or that is advising, on the components of the plan you saw on the last slide, rally citizens' commitment and support, and also sustain transparency. So together we'll develop a plan that's grounded in equity and inclusive of both mitigation and adaptation. This is our working timeline. So from 2019 to present, we've prepped for the CAP by doing the greenhouse gas inventory that'll be updated soon. And we also published the draft climate action plan. The draft climate action plan is mostly a list of actions that was pulled from the draft general plan, and it didn't have any direct community involvement. But we understand community involvement is absolutely necessary, which is why we're forming this working group. And that's where we are right now. So I wanted to jump into the working group a little bit because I know there's a lot of questions around that. So first, we reached out to members of the public and expanded on existing network connections to just talk story, learn about what's already happening, and build those relationships. While we were doing this, we were also observing how other teams were successfully engaging community. And then we developed a high-level community engagement process that was specific to climate action. And a key part of this was creating the working group. It was important to be sure that this working group had a baseline understanding of climate change and also had an equitable mindset going in. So we hosted a series of workshops that included a Climate 101 presentation and a climate simulation that was specific to Hawaii Island. And that helped us better understand the value of working together and investing directly in our communities to be resilient to climate change. So the thinking behind this was that the working group would need to be small, maybe around 20 people to fit our resources and capacity right now. 20 people can't possibly represent all of the communities of our island. So instead of bringing in our own opinions and expertise, or even outside expertise for that matter, we needed to be sure everyone had a community-oriented mindset. The goal of the working group is to figure out who's missing from these conversations, what knowledge and expertise we have here on our island, how will we engage and get underrepresented communities represented in this plan, and how this plan will develop in a way that can move with the dynamics of our island. So for example, how can the plan be made more accessible and practical for communities? And so since resources and capacity for the county climate action team is super small, nearly non-existent, we needed to start somewhere. We reconnected with those that seemed to have a high interest in climate action and was influential in or could represent larger community groups, and we invited them to these workshops. We also asked and continue to ask nearly everyone we interact with, who else should be part of this discussion? And of course, we need to consider like their interest and time, influence, expertise, and the capacity to ensure our residents are represented well. So we formed that initial working group, and now we're figuring out how to get more people that need to be part of this conversation, part of the conversation. And so I'll ask you guys, right? Who needs to be part of this? And this is our contact information, sustainability@hawaiicounty.gov. And I also put in the link to our climate change action page, which we'll be updating in the future. But thanks so much for having us and letting us share what's happening on the climate front.
Awesome, thanks, Michelle. We'll open the floor if anybody has questions, comments.
Hey, Keiko, it's Shane from Kona.
Hi, Shane.
I have a question. So I know that the CAP is focused on emission, but I was wondering maybe part of the stakeholder group or that community group would include kind of the business sector to take a look at how economics would be impacted by this group or by this CAP. And I think that having people from either the chambers or something to be a part of that conversation to take a look at how economics would be a part of because if you're eliminating or if you're taking away emissions, you're dealing with automobiles, you're dealing with things that are part of economics. So I was wondering if that stakeholder group is in the communication group right now or that community group right now.
Yeah, is it okay if I answer, Kiko, like directly? Okay, cool.
Please.
Let me just share. I'll share with you the different organizations that we have that are already involved. So we have Carbon Buddy, Coral Reef Alliance, Hawaii Community College, Arizona State University, they have a large presence here. The University of Hawaii at Hilo, Hawaii, I think it's Big Island EV Association, the Kohala Center, Symbrosia, Hawaii Energy, Hawaiian Electric, and then from the county side, we have members from the county council, we have R&D, planning, we also have environmental management and from the mayor's office as well. So if you know of any particular person that should be engaged and actually will be actively engaged, because we're really trying to make sure that this group of people will be active instead of just show up to meetings. So if you have any particular person you could connect us with, that would be super helpful, or even guidance on who we might talk to. I know you said the chambers, but if there's any particular person that should be part of this work, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll send you his name.
Awesome, thanks, Shane. Anyone else chime in? No? Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate it. And again, we'll share the PowerPoint. Michelle's contact information is in the chat, but if we get out of here and you don't have it and you need it, we're more than happy to connect. Okay. So business item number 4. This is all about you guys. And so we're gonna have implementation updates from action committee members. And so 2 folks really reached out and we're excited to talk about kind of projects that they're working on and share with you folks so we can see if we can find some synergies, some similarities, see how we can maybe leverage the different things that we're working on. So first we have from the Puna Action Committee, Susie Osborne. And so she's gonna provide a brief overview of a new project that she is working on in Nanavale that connects food security, education, and resilience, which, as we noted in the agenda, is something that is reflected in all of our CDPs across the Moku. So mahalo, Susie.
Okay, aloha mai kako. My name is Susie Osborne, and I'm the co-founder of Kuokala Charter School, and it's supporting nonprofit Ho'oululahui. Okay, you said it all right there in the introduction. No, but this project is really in the infancy stage, and I don't know if Suliloy is still on the phone, but to acknowledge and thank the county and their support for the implementation of this. But basically, I think most of you know, we lost our campus and home for our nonprofit to the Kilauea eruption. So we've been very much in the stabilizing, continue to stabilize from the effects of this. And we were really blessed when Malama Opuna recently donated 10-acre parcel in Nanavale. And so their initial vision for this property was to have a botanical garden. And I think we wanted to acknowledge that and respect that vision, but also really open it up to the community and see what else really needs to be done. And especially when the eruption happened and food security finally has risen to the surface as a real priority for our state. And then of course with COVID, that's exacerbated everything. So we thought that there's so much emphasis on immediate food distribution and addressing the current need, but we thought, well, in honoring that vision of a botanical garden, but let's do it a food producing botanical garden, and of course our native forest also. We don't want to disturb that. So we received a small planning grant. So we're in the planning stages right now, and our vision is to support the needs of our local schools and the community at large. By supporting an agriculture-focused resilience hub and addressing food security, including production and distribution of food, native plants, farm to table, cultural, education, with place and project-based activities, all addressing social resilience. So we wanted to develop a strategic plan with conceptual site drawings as the first step to the development of this property for community use. And our initial vision includes just internal road pathways, greenhouses, pilihale, imu, meeting rooms, haleva'a. So we have contracted a planner that includes a Native Hawaiian, several planners actually. And so we have 3 phases articulated, and phase 1 will conduct immersive research with stakeholders. Individual and organizations will engage in interviews and workshops to identify the priorities of the project and establish a detailed program for the future Community Resilience Hub, resulting in a strategic plan. We started this process. And so this is site analysis, physical, genealogical, and cultural context within the site analysis. So Moku Ohauhau, the genealogy of the place, connecting the genealogy to the present and into the future, understanding and addressing community needs, social and economic context. Also Mo'olelo of the community stakeholders, connecting them to the place. And so those meetings have already commenced. Phase 2 will be the production of a site plan and conceptual drawings illustrating opportunities and challenges, how the site can be developed, and a conceptual design for the future hub. And phase 3, community engagement, huaka'i, participatory workshops with community stakeholders and individual interviews, and ike honua, learning from the land to improve reciprocal relationships between the design and the land. This will all lead to the articulation of the vision of the Community Resilience Hub, which can be used to support capital fundraising efforts to finance the development of the project. And another one of the outcomes will be the development of a project budget, so that and some community information. And then just by shared values, designing together, and an integrated design process. So we really want this to be for the community, with a vision by the community, with input from the AINA and from community members, and really another special vahipana for our community. So again, it's in our infancy stages, just planning. If there's anybody, we have already started our interviews. If people would like to provide mana'o, they can get a hold of me, and we're really wide open to receiving information and support. And then especially as we get going, if needing contributions of food producing trees, and engagement in any of the hallway construction, and we're going to need lots of help. So open this up to a statewide opportunity, or an island-wide opportunity. But again, we're in the planning stages, and there's a lot more invasive trees than we thought. We did some drone aerials, and we're just sort of, it's a little disheartening. And Fran and Layla, gotta have you, well, Layla, you've been out to the site, but yeah, it's a little more challenging than I thought. Getting, we don't want to have to go in with dozers and stuff, but it's just, it's really pretty thick with invasives. So, but anyway, that's just my very brief project overview. It's an example of a project that's happening in Puna, and welcome everyone's input. Mahalo.
Great. Thank you, Susie. Anybody have any questions, comments, ideas, see connections? And we can, Susie, if you don't mind dropping your contact info in the chat, that way folks could reach out to you should something come to mind later. Okay. Awesome. So item B, under this last agenda item from Hamakua, I think something that is very top of mind for everyone right now, given the most recent fires in Hamakua and South Kohala, and lava in Puna. We all kind of have our own hazards that we face and we deal with, and so this is very top of mind. And so Brad Kurokawa from the Hamakua AC wanted to talk about some of the work that they've been doing around emergency access and road access, and hopefully open this up to a bigger conversation of preparedness. And yeah, anyway, thank you, Brad.
Oh, thanks, Keiko. And I guess first of all, I just want to kind of point out, I don't know about you guys, but for me, just listening to like some of the testifiers and the presentations by Michelle and Maxine, to me, it's sort of all related. And then Susie's presentation on their project in Puna. And yeah, with just kind of zooming back and seeing the need for this kind of local community grassroots efforts to sort of weave all of these things together in terms of resilience. We are remote, we are isolated, and at the same time, we're all connected. And so the need that we all have in our individual communities, and then as an island as a whole, I see as being, pretty critically important. And, part of that is having these places that people can rally around in terms of resilience, in terms of emergency preparedness, and that it also obviously includes the access routes between our communities. And so here in Hamakua, and we came up with a situation in Wailea and Akalau in terms of a couple of our bridges being out of commission, partially due to Hurricane Lane, and in my mind, just sort of ongoing deferred maintenance, especially along some of our the old Mamaloho Highway, which is really the sort of the necklace of access around the entire island in portions of the, and in particular in Hamakua, because we have so many bridges on these smaller highways, which are alternative route from the Belt Highway, the main Belt Highway. So in any case, portions of our community have been restricted access and impacting, with a detour route. And so it kind of came up as a immediate impact to our community, and then trying to work with the county and other agencies to look at the bigger picture. And that's why I think the relevance of the action committees, to sort of work together to identify what these emergency access routes should be, and then looking for alternative routes. We have a lot of, we all have familiar with the roads in limbo and some of the private road networks that were in place from the plantation days, many of which have, either been neglected or have been shut off because of, their private access routes. But the need still becomes a community issue when areas are cut off or either temporarily or permanently. And so I guess that was what sort of came to mind in terms of raising this issue, so that we can maybe tackle it as a island-wide issue. I know that we have, from the Hamakua side, sort of offered to utilize our situation as a template. We haven't had that much success in working with department, the public works folks, to kind of look at it beyond their, typical or conventional way of going through a process of repairing and restoring the bridge. Like I said, I think a lot of it had to do with ongoing deferred maintenance, and that became an issue in terms of the longevity of the, solutions that are being proposed. Even working with our community, we've tried to put a very focused working group together to work with the county to address some of these issues. Well, like I said, with limited success. But anyway, I thought it's a larger issue that is very much needed as we move forward in terms of, we do have some inventory. I know that each of the CDPs and the county in their general plan have, tried to assemble the various data. But I think what we need to do as a next step, because is identifying the priority and then the solutions, because money is always going to be a shortage in terms of infrastructure, bridge repairs, roadway improvements, those types of things. But as we know, when emergencies hit, as they have throughout the island, in Kilauea eruption, the fires that we've just had recently in Pauwilo and North Kohala, those become very real, and the funding and preparedness needs to be addressed in a way that I think is a little bit more systematic than it's currently. So anyway, I just wanted to raise that that issue. It like I said, it was related to all of these things, because for me, this is where rubber meets the road. The climate change action plan, it's impacting being expressed in a variety of different ways, where the disasters, natural disasters, and it's going to continue. And we need to work at all levels, from that broad sort of global aspect, but down to the local grassroots level, like Susie folks are working in each of our communities. So anyway, thank you for everybody's testimony. I do want to comment on the some of the previous testimony in terms of the punk, and some of the community members that have raised the issue of the Pololu Valley. And I can remember, I've worked with the YPO folks, and having grown up here in the island, I remember when YPO Valley, the whole approach to YPO Valley was open space. It was, it was preserved. Well, it actually wasn't preserved, obviously. But now when you come to Waipio Valley, it is all homes. And so that whole approach to a Vahipana, which is important to our island, sort of compromised in my mind. And the same thing can happen at Pololu. So I wholeheartedly would support that effort to kind of protect that upper rim. And the same thing goes for the rest of Waipio Valley and the whole coastline there as well. So anyway, thank you very much for everybody's mana'o, and thanks Keiko for the opportunity to share on this issue.
Thanks, Brad. That was great. I see, Ruth, you have your hand up?
I do. Actually, I'm kind of excited because, Brad, you're right. Just always when we talk about these things, the issue that comes up is money. So, and I talked with Alexa about this a little, but what's happening right now at the national level with the Senate passing $1 trillion infrastructure bill. And if you look at the information that Schatz has put out, Senator Schatz has put out already, I know it's not through the House yet. I'm not going to get into the politics of what they're doing and how they're doing it and the order of which they're doing it. But the infrastructure money is going to come. And we're never going to see that kind of money again. I mean, I won't because I'm too old. I'll be gone before it comes around again. I think it's really important. The state has done the Department of Transportation has a STIP list that is for shovel-ready projects, and they are priorities. Bridges are a very big part of them. Bridges and roads are a huge part of this mega money that's being spread across the country. We have an opportunity to get them fixed. We have an opportunity to get our emergency evacuations or accesses that we need in case in and out of communities. Actually, I think we have a golden opportunity. And I think it's important that it's going to be the first time that we're not saying to the county or the state, where's the money? Because the money will be there. And I just don't see that money for the first time in forever is going to be what keeps us from doing it. I think the question is going to be how much of it stays on Oahu and how well does it get spread in the other islands, and especially to the Big Island, because as I said, when I wrote one of Senator Schatz's staff, I said, the Big Island's well named. It's big. We've got lots of needs on the Big Island. So I'm actually really excited and hopeful that we'll be able to do this. Do I think it will be important? I mean, I've been running through my mind, how can as action committees, can we help? How can we, involve the public in helping? Because it's really the governor and the mayors and more at the political level, it's going to be decided. But I think that our voices will be listened to, and I think we need to make them heard. But everything that I've heard people talking about in terms of the needs, and I mean, even in the stuff on climate change, there's a lot of things in there. It's an unprecedented bill in our time, and it's unprecedented. It passed bipartisan in the Senate. Okay, if anyone's still standing, you're not listening, because we just don't do that anymore. So it's kind of just it's a great thing, and I want people to get jazzed and activated. And how that looks in your particular area, I don't know, and I'm still working it out for what it means for us. But I'm clear about the priorities on things that have been put in for South Kohala, and you guys individually know your ACs, your action committees. I mean, your CDPs much better. So, thank you. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, Ruth, I just want to kind of comment on that. And I think you're right on in terms of we have to be ready. And what that means is that the planning and design for these already identified, we've had so many studies of bridges and roads that, sit on shelves and, but nothing further to take them to the point of being shovel ready. And that means that the planning and design for these prioritized projects need to be, again, highlighted and brought into the communities and the public's eye, so that when the monies become available, they're ready to go. Otherwise, it's a 2 to 5 year process with the the conventional process with going through the EIS, EAs, for these types of projects, especially ones that are over waterways. And so, all the more the importance of kind of the getting behind a very focused effort to identify, say, hey, these have already been identified. Let's confirm them in our communities and have them supported, because the money will come down, but then how to get distributed to the islands, and then within our own island, what are the funds going to be used for? And that's where I think the ACs can come in to work together with the council and the departments that are responsible for that, to look at the big picture and not just our own individual districts. So I just want to point that out. But yeah, they have to be ready. Otherwise, it's an ongoing process that is just as slow as not getting anything done, waiting for it to get to that place where the money can be actually used for the improvement. So yeah, thanks.
Well, I just want to say too, that the federal money is not there's not that much money going to be spent in 1 year. It's going to be over a time. I'm not even going to, it's like 5 to 10 years, but until the bill actually gets signed into law, I don't want to talk about the details of the bill, but it is a longer term thing. And, I think back to when I first came on the action committee, and the whole issue was that they had changed the weight limit for the bridge that comes up Kauai High Grade and goes into Waimea. And all the trucks were going to have to be coming through Waikoloa. And at that action committee, we formed a subcommittee on Waikoloa about a second access road and traffic in Waikoloa, and then it turned out that the state backed off on that. They didn't do that. They didn't reroute. But most of these issues have been sitting around for a long time. Yeah. And it is going to be over time. Actually, if you get too much money at once, you can't spend it all, not to mention you can't find enough contractors.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. I see Karen's hand and then Leila to follow.
Hi, everyone. I represent Puako. And I just wanted to talk about what Ruth was just talking about. So in my prior life, I used to run the Nature Conservancy for a lot of the mainland United States and in the Northwest. And I was actually involved at the time when the last time a big recovery bill was put out, which was 2010. And what's going to happen if it happens the same way, which I really think it will, the money's going to be agreed upon. And even though they think it's going to be dispersed over a 5-year period, it's all going to be grabbed really quickly. And, as Brad said, we have to get shovel-ready projects in. And the key people involved in getting us the money are our senators, Schatz and Hirone, because they're the ones that are going to be saying, give the money to Hawaii. We need this money for Hawaii. So the more we can feed them projects, and even if they're not completely shovel ready, every state's going to be in the same boat. And we want to make sure that Hawaii gets a fair share of that money. And then figure out how to get it to the county, to Hawaii. But my question would be, so who can help organize at the county level, getting this information to our national representatives so that they have a really strong case in Washington, D.C., so that Hawaii gets the money. And to ensure that it actually does get distributed here to Hawaii, because it's not just roads and bridges. There's also a lot of clean water and water infrastructure in there. I mean, all the projects that we are currently thinking of are in there. And I think a lot of the things that I've actually seen on all of our action committee reports could qualify. But if we all go about it individually, it won't work. And if you look back at who got the money in 2010, it was big organizations like the Nature Conservancy or other ones that worked together across the country and really fed the senators what they needed to ensure we got, a good amount of the money. So my question to Keiko and the rest of the county is, can someone help all of us coordinate, put a list together, tell us what information you need, work with, shots, the senator's office and our national representatives, just to make sure that we're ready, because the money's going to go fast, really fast. Thank you.
Aloha, Karen. Thank you. So I can't speak too much in detail about it, but it is my understanding that at the mayoral and cabinet level, the county is addressing this. And so I think we can reach out and see how the action committees and community can contribute to this effort. But I do know that they are working on it. So yeah. So if we can get back to you on that, and if you have any other questions, please let me know, and I'll be sure and get that back to the cabinet level and the mayor's office.
Thank you, April. Layla, and then Jeff.
All right, mahalo. Excuse me. So I'm just wondering if, like, in the just the thoughts of how action committees are being run now in this time of COVID and through virtual. Is there a way for like multiple members of different action committee members to be like on a subcommittee together to work on something like this?
That is a great question that maybe I will punt to Jean.
It's just a thought, because during our action committee time with shucks, I'm totally forgetting. Well, Patty Pinto was one, right? And I'm
Marlene Hapai.
Yeah, so we had a subcommittee that worked on connectivity and emergency response preparedness, and we did all those studies within our neighborhood, and they took the guys out and they mapped this stuff on. They had community meetings that helped like lay out where all these different places that needed to be addressed. I'm wondering if there's like a, I'm not volunteering myself right now because I have so much going on, but I'm saying, like, is there people that are on the action committees that could work together as a subcommittee overall to look at those different types of things? So that's just my question right now. Thank you.
I'll offer that procedurally there is a way to do that. The allows the designation of a permitted interaction group, or a PIG for short, lack of a better term. And those are, so long as they are formed for a specific purpose during a meeting. So, and my recommendation would be, rather than, in your joint large meeting like this, when the individual regional meetings meet next, if there are specific issues of some sort, we want to form basically a subcommittee to go and look into. What the Sunshine Law allows you to do is set up the topic that they are going to go and look into, whatever research they're going to do, basically the scope of their inquiry, and then designate who the members of the interaction group are going to be. And then they are free to go off and do their thing. And then they come back and basically report to the larger group. So long as no decision-making is being done within the subcommittee, you're fine, and you're welcome to do that. And actually it's, I would personally encourage it. I think it's a really great way for subcommittees to work. And like I said, the Sunshine Law specifically anticipates that you can't do everything in your larger group meetings. And so that's how that's done.
Thank you. I just wanted to throw that out there because I know we spent a lot of time within our action committee. Every month they would come back and report to us about these different meetings that we're having in the subcommittee. We could probably get that information to share with, like, how do you look at that in per Hamakua and Kona and Kohala and so forth. Yeah. So maybe you can get back to us on that, Keiko.
Yeah, for sure.
Mahalo.
Keiko, I can't
Thanks.
find my button.
Okay, let's let Jeff go, and then we'll come back to you, Ruth. Thanks.
Thanks.
Jeff McKnight, Hamakua AC Action Committee. You know, I agree with Ruth. I think it's terrific that we finally have funding to repair, or it looks like we're going to have funding to repair our bridges and our roads. One thing that I think we have to consider, unlike the mainland, where if we have an emergency, they can just get on the road and leave. We can't do that. We have to have roads that go somewhere. And I think it's important that we take a look at our shelters and make sure that they have the capacity and the structural integrity necessary to house everybody on our island. It's just something that I think the entire county needs to really take a hard look at, because we've started to do some studies and we discovered that they don't really have the capacity or the structural integrity. And if money is available through the infrastructure bill, then I think that it's important that we take that into consideration as well. Just my 2 cents.
Thanks, Jeff. Go ahead, Ruth.
Yeah, I just want to say, so Karen was sharing her background that she had. I actually came to Hawaii 37 years ago from Washington, D.C. I worked on Capitol Hill. I worked for the House of Representatives, and I worked on the House Budget Committee. So I'm real familiar with the process. The money that we're going to see is from the federal government is, I mean, and this is per, if you go on Senator Schatz, I don't know what Senator Harona has up, but I know what Senator Schatz has up, and it's showing $2.8 billion coming into Hawaii. Now, the reason we're getting 2.8 billion of $1 trillion has to do with land area and population. So the biggest money is going to go to the more highly populated areas and the bigger geographical areas. I'm assuming that he feels that's our fair share, given the large picture. So that money, when it comes down, it is going to be important that our governor and our mayor our mayor needs to advocate for the governor. I'm assuming the money is going to come down to the state, and the state will do the disbursement to the counties, and then the counties will do the disbursement. So there is a little time, but I think that what Karen mentioned about how quickly things got grabbed up, I think we need to be, aware on that. And I'm going to say again, all the stuff that you would look at on the state transportation website right now are things, not everything is there that you might consider really urgent, but if it wasn't shovel ready, it's not on a high priority list there. And that had to do with money. So it's a good starting point. And if you go to it, you're going to see your Hamakua bridges and all this stuff. But actually, what I was going to say earlier was one of the things that the South Kohala action committee did was we formed the Waikoloa subcommittee, and Mark is here. He's real involved in our wildfire issues here, which are alive and well, by the way, in South Kohala. But there were three of us that were on it, and we researched. We didn't make any decisions. What we did do is really, after a year's worth of work and research, we submitted to the action committee reports on what we'd researched. Now, we meant to have a year now, but our stuff was real complicated by that our landowners have turned over so many times in the area around our intersection and also where a second access right might go. So what someone promised 10 years ago, they don't even own the land anymore. At any rate, I think the subcommittee process is very good. Again, you have to stick and do your research and factual. And we came to the action committee without recommendation other than the things that the county should consider. We did notice that for a long time, we'd been waiting for a developer to take action on certain things, and that didn't happen. The number one item in Waikoloa in 2008, our CDP, was a second access road. And this is 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Anybody else? This is our last. Oh, go ahead, Director Kern. Go.
Thank you. I'm just gonna say a few words. I might be able to answer a few questions here. I want to say thanks to all the speakers in the presentations. It was great information. First off, I want to say thanks to the testimony for Pololu. I really do appreciate it. Near and dear to my heart. I was actually born in North Kohala. So very close. Regarding the climate change group and the stakeholders group, we're certainly going to make sure that that is well-rounded and well-represented. During the last meeting we had regarding this last week, we discussed that and really want to ensure that any of the groups are as well-rounded and represented as they possibly can be. Regarding the infrastructure, the administration is acutely aware of the situation, and we're working together. The departments are working together to set priorities, work on getting shovel-ready projects, connect with the congressional delegations, everything that's being said here. So not to not underscore what's being said here. I think this just adds to it, but I at least wanted to let you folks know that we are on the same page. We are working on this, as well as connectivity. And actually, believe it or not, I was in a conversation today around connectivity regarding Waikoloa Village. And so regarding bridges, the rest of it, but a big part of it is also planning and Department of Public Works, working together and the administration supporting that and combining, planning and engineering together so we can, the goal is to be at least, a year or two ahead on projects planned and shovel ready and never fall behind. That's a lofty goal. It's an ambitious goal, something that I'm really dedicated to continuing to push forward, as well as these other things as far as our electronic permitting systems and the rest of it. We want to do this. There's a lot to do. Can only imagine how much there really is to do to really be effective and to get things done for our community. And so we have very dedicated people doing that. I know from the administration and myself, we are very dedicated to doing that, continuing that forward. So I hope that helps a little bit, that we are very much in alignment, as frustrating as it may be and as slow as government may be at times. We really do care, and we really speak for myself and the planning department and our staff. We are trying. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much, Director Kern. We really appreciate you spending this time with us. And I think, this venue of Zoom is often difficult for us to bring in the community members that we want to bring in, but it does provide this opportunity for us to reach folks that we don't normally reach. And it allows for folks like Director Kern and Corporation Counsel Jean Campbell to join us, because there's no travel time included. And that's an advantage to us being able to meet virtually. And so we just really appreciate you folks taking that time to be with us. And I think the themes that we've been kind of hearing most about today are around emergency routes and federal funding, shovel-ready projects, shelters. And so I think the big question is what is our role in it? What is the AC's role? How do we continue to work together across the island and in our individual districts? And I think just by seeing folks like Sharon from Office of Housing and Michelle folks from Research and Development, this administration's goal kind of was to have us work more outside of our silos and with other departments and community groups. And so I think we're really pumped about that, because it does make our work a lot easier to be able to connect the dots between all of this work that's happening. And so we're grateful that you folks are a part of that puzzle. You're that piece. And so we appreciate all of you and your volunteer time. And we know that it's not always easy to meet during the evening. I hear Layla's babies. They're like, we want dinner. And so we truly appreciate all of the time that you folks take out of your own private lives to work and uplift your communities. So mahalo. And so before we officially close the meeting, Alexis is going to drop into the link. I think we're trying. Oh, Tan, I see your hand. Oh, you're on. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. I just needed a moment of clarification. I'm presuming that this combined action committee is not a board or a commission. I assume if it was a board or a commission, it would need to have a chairman, an election of chairman, and so forth. I think that would probably be everyone's presumption here, but several times the issue of sunshine law has come up, and you know, the Sunshine Law regulates communication between members of a board or a commission. And so I would be of the presumption that any communication that I would feel important to make with this group would be okay, would be allowed, so long as I did not include in that communication members of my own board, the Hamakua Action Committee. Would that be your presumption also?
You know, I haven't looked into that question specifically. So I would have to research that for you. I don't want to lead you astray. I would just generally, if you know everybody is here present, then I would think that you're clean. But I would have to look into. I would have to look into that. I don't want to lead you astray.
Thank you.
Mahalo. So we'll note that as a follow-up. Thanks, Tan, for your question. Alexis has dropped into the chat a survey. We're trying to make this a habit because we want to always get better at what we're trying to do and how we work with community. And so there's a link in the chat. If you don't finish the survey or you don't get the link tonight, we will be sending it out in a follow-up email. We're also going to be sending it to Kekoa and the other testifiers tonight. And then we're also popping it into the chat on YouTube, so that the folks who are watching via YouTube can also participate in this survey. And so we'll try to make this a habit and do it after each of our action committee meetings. Okay, so with that, I guess we call it a close, gang. It is 6:51. Mahalo nui. Appreciate you folks so much.
Thank you, Keiko.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody.